Hello beautiful people, you're welcome back to Nazi Styles YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, you're highly welcome, and to my returning subscribers, I want to say thank you so much for sticking with me. In this video, you're going to learn how to cut and sew this beautiful 6 pieces blouse. If this is something you're interested in, please don't skip any part of this video and let's jump right into the video. I'm going to be drafting a pattern for this blouse, and I've gone ahead to mark out the vertical measurements. So I'll just go ahead and label it now. This is the shoulder line, and here I have the chest line. The next line is the bust line, or you can also call it the bust point line. Then after that, I have my under bust line, the front waistline, and lastly my preferred blouse length. The next step is to measure and mark the basic front neckline of 3 inches by 3 inches, 3 inches neck width by 3 inches neck depth. From the center front, I will measure and mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'll place the figure on the shoulder line and also place the same figure on the chest line. Then I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect the two marks together. Then I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope and connect the mark to the neck width using my straight ruler. The next thing I'll do is to locate the midpoint of the armhole line and place a mark there. From that midpoint, I'll come in by 0.75 inch, and then I will make use of my straight ruler and connect the mark to meet with the shoulder slope. Before I connect the armhole curve, I'll first of all measure and mark the bust circumference divided by 4. I'm going to measure that and mark it on the chest line starting from the center front. Then I'll come in with my armhole curve and shape the armhole area. I'll place the curve ruler in such a way that it will touch the mark on the chest line and the mark on the armhole line, the midpoint of the armhole. Starting from the center front, I will measure and mark my bust span measurement divided by 2. That is the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. And I'm going to be placing this mark on the bust line, on the under bust line, on the waistline, and also on the blouse length line. Then I will use my straight ruler to connect all the marks together. Before I proceed, let me quickly label the center front. Starting from the bust span line towards the center front, I'm going to measure and mark 0.5 inch on the waistline, on the under bust line, and on the blouse length line. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect the marks. Then towards the side front, I'll measure and mark 1.5 inches on the under bust line, the waistline, and the blouse length. I'll also connect the marks using my straight ruler. I'll go ahead and make the two lines more visible. I'll come in with my curve ruler and connect from the under bust line, starting from the 0.5 inch mark. I'll connect it to the bust point like so. Then I'll flip the curve ruler to the other side and do the same thing to the other parts. I'll start from the 1.5 inch mark and connect to the bust point. I'll come over to the armhole and locate the midpoint of this armhole curve. Then I'll connect the midpoint to the bust point, which is also that apex. From the midpoint of the armhole, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect the 1.5 inches mark to the bust point using a slightly curved ruler. From the new line on the armhole curve, I'll go out by the same 1.5 inches. Then I'll bring in my armhole curve and reshape the armhole. For the horizontal measurement, I'll come over to the underbust line starting from the center front. I'll measure and mark the underbust circumference divided by 4 plus the 2 inches dart intake. Okay, I'll place the mark there. I'll come to the waistline. I'll place my waist measurement divided by 4 plus this 2 inches dart intake. I'll repeat the same thing on the blouse length. I'll measure my hip circumference divided by 4 plus the 2 inches dart intake. Then I'll connect all the marks together up to the chest line. Side front, I'll come down from the bust line by 2 inches for my bust dart and I'll connect it to the bust point. The next thing I'll do is to add 1 inch hem allowance to the front bodice like so, and after that I will set it aside while I draft the back bodice. For the back bodice, I've gone ahead to mark out the vertical measurements and I'm going to be running through the measurement now. So the first one is the shoulder line. I came down by 1 inch from the top of the pattern paper. I have the chest line and I have the back waistline. I also have the blouse length and then 1 inch hem allowance, and I ruled out all the lines. I've gone ahead to mark the basic back neck measurement of 3 inches by 1 inch. That's 3 inches neck width, same as the front neck width. Then I came down by 1 inch for the neck depth. Now starting from the center back, I'm going to be taking the shoulder measurement divided by 2 and I'll place a mark there. Then I will mark the same figure on the chest line. Then I'll connect the 2 marks using my straight ruler, which I've already done. So the next thing I'm going to do is to come down from the shoulder line by 1 inch to rule the shoulder slope. So I came down by 1 inch and connected it to the neck width. I'll get the middle of the armhole line and place a mark there. Then from the line, I'll go in by 0.5 inch. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect to the shoulder slope. On the chest line, I'll measure and mark the bust circumference divided by 4. Then I'll come in with my armhole curve and draw the armhole. The next step is to measure and mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement on the chest line, on the back waistline, and also on the hem line. Then I'm going to be connecting all the marks using a straight ruler. I'll come down from the chest line by 1 inch. Then I'll go up from the blouse length line by 0.5 inch. On the waistline, I'm going to be taking 0.5 inch on both sides for the dart intake, and I'll connect the 2 marks to the points at the hem and to the other points, the other mark below the chest line, like so. I'll come over to the armhole. To create the armhole princess dart style line, I'll come to the midpoint of the armhole and connect to the chest line. But please, I'm supposed to connect this to the 1 inch below the chest line, so I'll make that correction now. Please, you connect the midpoint of the armhole to this 1 inch mark below the chest line. So from that line, I'll come out by 0.5 inch. Then I'll use my armhole curve to redraw the armhole, like so. On the waistline, starting from the center back, I'm going to measure and mark the waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. Then I'll come over to the blouse length line and I'll measure and mark the hip circumference divided by 4. Then I'll connect all the marks. I'll go in by 0.5 inch at the waistline at the center back. This is to tighten the center back, and I'll be connecting it to the neck width and also to the blouse length. This will prevent a zipper bulge at the center back of the blouse. For the size seam allowance, I'm going to be making use of 2 inches and I've added it to the pattern paper. Then I'll go ahead and shade out the parts that I'll be cutting out. I'll label the side front. I'll be cutting 2 pieces of the side front, and for the center front should be cut on fold. I'll go ahead and label that as well. I'll open up the dart leg. I'll cut through it up to the bust point and stop there. This will enable me close up the bust dart easily. I'll come over to the bust dart and slash through the bust dart line towards the bust point and stop exactly at the bust point. I'm not going to be cutting through it. Then I'll carry the down part, the part I just slashed now. I'll carry it and place it on top of the bust line and align it properly, like so. I'll use my sellotape to hold it down. After closing the bust dart, you should always blend the side. I'll proceed to cut out the dart. Before I continue with the cutting process, I'll first of all blend this bust area to avoid any sharp points around there. I'll blend in the curve to give that place a very smooth curve. At this point, you can use any neckline of your choice. So I came down by 4 inches for the front neckline and connected to the original neck width. But I won't be cutting it out yet because I might change my mind later. So I'll proceed to cut out the side of the pattern paper. This is what the front pattern should look like after cutting out the unwanted parts. And please remember to add your seam allowance to all the necessary parts. I've already added to the shoulder, the armhole area and the side, and I'll be adding the rest when I am cutting on fabric. For the back pattern, I'm going to be making use of 5 inches neck depth. Then I'll just connect it the way I want it to be. Now that I've gotten my actual back neckline, I'm going to be checking how many inches I have at the shoulder area. For example, if I have 4 inches remaining, I will make sure that the front shoulder will also be 4 inches. So whatever figure I get here, I'll bring in the front pattern and mark that figure there. It will guide me when I am creating the final front neckline. I joined an extra pattern paper to the center back so that I'll be able to add my zipper allowance on the pattern paper. So I can show you my zipper allowance on the pattern paper. Then I've also gone ahead to add seam at 0.5 inch seam allowance to the neckline, the shoulder area, the armhole area. Then I added 2 inches for the side seam allowance, and we already have our 1 inch hem allowance. Also remember to add 0.5 inch seam allowance to the parts that will be joining. Okay, then the center back will be cut 2 pieces, and the side back also will be having 2 pieces of it. I'll proceed to cut out the back pattern now. The back pattern should look this way after cutting out all the unwanted parts. It's time to add fullness to the blouse to create the 6 pieces blouse effect, and there are 2 methods of achieving this. You can use the slash and spread method, or you use this method that I'm about to show you now. I'll be working on the center front of the pattern paper first, so I came in with an extra pattern paper and I placed the center front on top of it. The pattern paper should be able to cover from the waist to the hem, so I would hold it down with my paper tape at this point. Then I will extend the hemline. So I'll be adding extra 5 inches to the hemline, starting from where the pattern paper stopped. Okay, the original pattern paper, not the extra. I'll start from there and measure 5 inches. Note that you can add as many inches as possible. Okay, I'm using 5 inches so that I can economize my fabric. Then from that 5 inches mark, I'm going to be connecting to the front waistline using my straight ruler. At the 5 inches line extension, I'll go up by 1 inch. Then I'll use my curve ruler to connect it back to the hemline. I'll proceed to cut out the unwanted parts, and I'm going to be repeating the same process for the other patterns. For the side front pattern, the fullness should be added to the 2 parts of the hem, and I've added to 1 part. I've added to the parts that has the same allowance, and I'm going to be adding to this other part now. Okay, I'm just going to be repeating the same process. I'll trace out the hem, then I'll come out from the original hem by 5 inches and connect to the front waistline. Okay, after connecting, I'll go up by 1 inch and use my curve ruler to connect back to the hemline. So I will do the same thing for the back pattern and show you the outcome. So I've gone ahead to repeat exactly the same process for the back pattern, as you can see. And this is what the front pattern looks like after adding fullness to the hem. I'll go ahead and cut on fabric now. I've successfully transferred the pattern paper to fabric, and this is the front pattern. The center front is cut on fold, and I cut both the lining and the main fabric. That's exactly what I have for both the side front. I have 2 pieces of the main and 2 pieces of the lining. Then for the back, I've gone ahead to cut out as well. Remember, I added seam allowance to the necessary parts. Okay, as seen in the video, please remember to add yours as well. So I have 2 pieces for the center back and 2 pieces for the side back. same as the lining. We'll proceed to the sewing machine and start joining them together. I've also ironed my interfacing on all the fabrics, both the lining and the main fabric. I ironed an interfacing on all of it. After padding the main bodice, I'll go ahead and join the front pieces together. I have a detailed video on how to pad an armhole princess that bustier on this channel, so do well to watch the video. So here is one part of the side. I'll pick up one side and one part of the center front, and I'm going to start sewing from the hem. I'll match the under bust and the waist area, and then I'll start joining starting from the hem using 0.5 inch seam allowance. I've also gone ahead to join the other side front to the other part of the center front. Okay, so the next thing I will do now is to pick up my scissors and notch the curved parts of this front bodice. And remember that anything you do for the main bodice, you're going to be repeating the same thing for the lining in terms of joining. Okay, for this particular tutorial I padded the main bodice. Okay, you can also pad the lining, whichever one is fine. Okay, so this is what the front bodice should look like after joining and after ironing the bustier area. Okay, as you can see, the bust area is standing. I didn't iron it flat. So I'll come in with this velvet bias tape, and I'm going to be sewing it on top of the same line on the front bodice. The two same lines on the front bodice, the two parts that were joined, I'm going to be sewing it on the right side of the fabric. And I'll do the same thing for the back bodice as well. As you can see, I've gone ahead to join the center back to one part of the side, and I did the same thing to the other parts of the back. One part of the center back to one side and the other part of the center back to the other side. I'll go ahead and also sew this trimming, this velvet bias tape. I'm going to be sewing it on top of the same lines and show you. The next thing I will do now is to finish up the hem of the blouse. I have the lining and the main bodice for the front. Okay, and I notched the center and matched the main bodice and the lining at the center. I used my pin to hold it down, and to give the hem a little standing effect, I'm going to be making use of a crinoline, and this is what I have here. I closed the edge of the crinoline with the use of a paper tape, and I'm going to be sewing it on top of the lining. First and foremost, I pinned the main bodice and the lining right side facing each other, and this crinoline will be on top of the lining. Okay, I'll go ahead and start sewing it using the same allowance given. Okay, please use 0.5 inch seam allowance when you're sewing the hem with a crinoline. Okay, because 1 inch is going to be too much. So after sewing, I went ahead to top stitch the allowance towards the lining to help it to relax properly. The next step is to finish up the front neckline. I'm going to be placing the lining and the main body right side facing each other, and I will sew 0.5 inch to finish up the neckline, and I will repeat exactly the same process for the back bodice, and I will show you the outcome. So here is the back bodice. I've gone ahead to finish up the hem, and I've attached the crinoline to the hem as well. Same thing I did for the front bodice. I have finished up the neckline and I closed up the sides that has the rough edges. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and fix the zipper to the center back. Okay, I'll quickly do that now and show you. So this is what the back bodice looks like after fixing the zipper. I've gone ahead to install my zipper, okay, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to show you what the front bodice looks like as well. So here is my front bodice. See how the bust area is still standing, and look at how well finished everything is. Isn't it beautiful, right? The next step is to join the shoulder. I'm going to be picking up the front and the back bodice, right side facing each other, and I'll be joining it fabric to fabric and lining to lining. You can pin it down, okay, to avoid any form of mistake, and I will use 0.5-inch seam allowance to join the shoulder. I've also used my measurement to mark out my body shape on the blouse on both sides of the blouse, and I'll take it to my sewing machine and join it at the side. So this is what it looks like after joining, and look at the shoulder area. I've ironed the seam allowance open. See how neat the shoulder area is. So the last thing you're going to be doing for this blouse now is to go ahead and fix any sleeve of your choice. So if you want me to drop a video on how I made my own sleeve, please indicate in the comment section. I will make a video on the sleeve. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to leave a nice comment below and turn on the notification bell to get notified each time I post a new video.